Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. Welcome into NFL Free Agency Eve as well, as tomorrow things really get going. It's been a busy couple of days for the Bears, as you guys know. I'm your host, Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys for clicking on this video. Let's take a look at 25 players that the Bears could target once free agency opens tomorrow. All right, let's start at wide receiver. We'll take a look at 5 guys at this position. DJ Chark from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Big body, big speed, big upside. Some inconsistent play and some injuries early on in his career, but I think he fits that athleticism and explosiveness that Ryan Poles is intrigued by. Christian Kirk with the Arizona Cardinals next up here. Good speed. You know, he's been a little inconsistent as well. I think he improved, though, once the Cardinals got DeAndre Hopkins. Now the Bears don't have a DeAndre Hopkins, so keep that in mind. But for the right price, I think I'd be okay with Christian Kirk. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a guy we've talked about a little bit here on Bears Now. Obviously, he's got the connection to Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator in Green Bay. Deep threat, not a number 2 receiver, let's be clear, but I think he'd be a decent number 3. JuJu Smith-Schuster, maybe he could be a number 2 type of receiver, as at times he's looked like a number 1, but he's had some injury problems as well. Obviously, this past year, injuries and Ben Roethlisberger just falling off a cliff impacted the type of season he was hoping to have, but maybe he could get a fresh start in Chicago. Back to Green Bay we go. Allen Lazard, another player we've talked about. Again, the Luke Getsy connection, but also one of the best run-blocking receivers in the NFL, which I value, especially in this Bears offense, because you know that they're going to want to run the ball with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. Name a wide receiver that you think the Bears should sign in NFL free agency. We just took a look at a few. Obviously, a lot of the big names have either been tagged or re-signed, like Davante Adams and, of course, Mike Williams. But let us know. Name a receiver that you would like to see the Bears sign. Now, Bears Now is also on Rumble, which is another content creator video app that you guys can download. Go download the app and check us out at rumble.com/BearsNow. It's also on desktop as well. Give us a follow. We're competing with the other channels here at Chat Sports, and I'll be honest, we're kind of in the bottom half in terms of followers on Rumble. More exclusive content to come over there. Our normal videos on YouTube, but just think of this as a bonus platform for more videos here on Chicago Bears Now. Let's go to the next position group. Offensive guard, center, kind of interior offensive line here. A couple of guards, then we'll look at some centers. Brandon Scherff with the Washington Commanders. He's 30, so he's probably a little bit older than what Ryan Poles is looking for, but he's a top 5 guard in the NFL, and if you're going to splurge on a offensive lineman, this might be the guy to do it for. Connor Williams with the Dallas Cowboys led the NFL in penalties last year, I believe, among offensive linemen. It was a problem, but he's an average to above average guard. The question is he better than like a James Daniels? And if the answer is no, then you might as well just bring back James Daniels, a guy that you actually know. Now let's take a look at some centers here. Ryan Jensen with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's 30-31, but, he's powerful. He's probably the best center on the open market. I would be intrigued by him if I was Chicago. Now, Brian Allen is another guy with the defending champion Los Angeles Rams that's set to hit free agency. Should be cheaper. I don't think you're going to have to pay a crazy amount for him, and he's just rock solid. As is Bradley Bozeman as well. Bozeman with the Baltimore Ravens is a guy that I would target as well. And I've heard some rumblings that Baltimore's probably going to let him go. Him and Allen are guys that they're kind of second-tier type of centers, that they're good players, but they're not going to break your bank. And let's be honest, the Bears need all kinds of help on this offensive line, whether it's guard, center, or tackle, and we'll take a look at some tackles in just a moment. But before we do that, make sure you get subscribed to Chicago Bears Now, because NFL free agency starts tomorrow. So hit that subscribe button, and we will have you guys covered here on Bears Now, the fastest growing channel on YouTube. We've been bringing you guys breaking news the last several days, and we will continue to do that throughout free agency. So subscribe right now. Let's go to offensive tackle. Terron Armstead. Kind of like Ryan Jensen, he's a little bit older, so you got to factor that in. He also has injury history. That's a bit of a challenging red flag there. If he's healthy, he's a beast. Do you want to invest big in him when he's already over 30? I don't know. That's a question for Ryan Poles. Yeah, he's missed 8 games in each of the last 2 seasons. That's a bit problematic. Eric Fisher with the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, the Colts connection with Matt Eberflus, also a Chiefs connection. Spent the majority of his career in Kansas City. Ryan Poles should know him well. If you want to move Tevin Jenkins to right tackle, Fisher could come play left tackle, and it sounds like the Colts are not going to bring him back. If you want to go a cheaper option from Indianapolis, how about Matt Pryor? You could plug him in at right tackle, or he could be a swing tackle, which, hey, you still need those as well. Pryor has some guard experience also. Maybe this team would view him as a guard, kind of a versatile offensive lineman. Morgan Moses with the Jets. The Bears had interest last year, if you remember, after getting rid of Charles Leno. He signed with the Jets. He wants to play right tackle, so you could keep Jenkins at left tackle, put Moses at right tackle. That could be an option as well. Mike Rimmers with the Chiefs. You've got the Ryan Poles connection. He's more of a swing tackle, but he's serviceable at right tackle. You don't want him playing left tackle, but he would certainly be kind of one of those cheaper options to help fill out your offensive line. Who is your top target at offensive line in free agency? Let me know. We just broke down 10 of them. 2 guards, 3 centers, 5 tackles. Pick one, or maybe there's someone else that I forgot about. Who would you want to sign at offensive line? Let's go to cornerback now. Charvarius Ward from the Chiefs, Ryan Poles connection. He knows him well. Really had a nice season for Kansas City. I think he's going to get decent money. Will the Chiefs give him that? I don't know. Don't be surprised if he gets $10, $11 million per year. Levi Wallace with the Buffalo Bills. I think he'll be slightly cheaper than Ward, but in that similar realm, $8 to $10 million. Solid CB2 type, which I think the Bears need, opposite of Jalen Johnson. Patrick Peterson. I don't think the Bears will do a lot of older veteran 1-2 year guys, but maybe Peterson is a guy they would make an exception with because they need a CB2. Maybe they're saying, hey, we got several needs, but not enough draft capital. Let's plug one of those holes with a short-term option with a guy like Peterson, and then we can fill that need next year in free agency or in the draft. Ahkello Witherspoon with the Pittsburgh Steelers also spent some time with the 49ers to start his career. Younger guy, 26, some upside. He started in a Super Bowl for San Francisco a few years ago. He's flashed at times. He's also been inconsistent. Tavon Young, still only about 27. He got cut by the Baltimore Ravens just a couple of days ago, but he's got some upside still. I think he could be a CB2 type for this defense, and the Bears need that because beyond Jalen Johnson, there's a lot of uncertainty at that cornerback position. Name a corner that you think the Bears should sign. Similar theme, we talk about a position, we ask you who you want to sign at that position. Get your votes in. Let's get the comments lit up down in the comments section below. All right, defensive tackle. And we've talked about this. Bears need defensive tackles, even more so now. They cut Eddie Goldman. He's already gone. B.J. Hill played well in the playoffs. Cincinnati really was impressive on their front four, especially down the stretch. He was a big reason why. So was Larry Ogunjobi. Now, he got hurt early in the playoffs. They didn't have him in the Super Bowl, but throughout the season, he was consistent. He was rock solid. You got to beef up that interior defensive line because you basically have Khyiris Tonga, and that's it. We'll see if Akeem Hicks and or Bilal Nichols returns, but I'm not convinced either actually come back. Malik Collins, this is a guy I'm really intrigued with because he's young. He's coming off probably his best season of his career, and he still has room to grow, and I think Ryan Poles would like that when identifying some free agents. So keep an eye on Malik Collins. I think he could plug in and be one of your starting defensive tackles. Jaron Reed, a couple of Chiefs guys here. We'll get to the second guy in a moment. The Poles connection, played last year with Kansas City, started very slow, but picked it up in the second half of the year, was really good in Seattle a few years ago. And then Derek Nottie, who's a bigger defensive tackle, but more flexible than a guy like Eddie Goldman. I think he could play in this 4-3 scheme as kind of a rotation guy. Maybe he starts but plays about half the snaps at the heavier defensive tackle spot, the 1 tech, and then a guy like Jaron Reed could plug in at that 3 tech if you want to go that route. So there you go. 25 guys to keep an eye on during NFL free agency. There's already a ton of action happening in the NFL. There's other names to monitor as well. I didn't even mention the Bears' own free agents to keep an eye on. We'll see what happens with Allen Robinson, Akeem Hicks, what's his name? Jakeem Grant, thank you. Producer Trace, and then also Bilal Nichols, and there's plenty of other guys to monitor as well. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/BearsNow. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and hey, this party all starts tomorrow, so hopefully we get some action, and if we do, you'll want to be subscribed because we'll have you guys covered.